the lead. I want to welcome you guys into this Diablo 4 Season 5, going into Season 6 PTR with DM Darth Microtransaction. DM, how you doing today?
Doing good. How are you doing, brother?
Always a pleasure. So DM and I, guys, just behind the scenes, we started talking. Just me and him talk, actually, if you could believe it, when we're not streaming, just collaborating on things.
All
stuff
day,
like that.
every day. When we're not live, we're probably talking to each other.
All the time. And so since he's a nice guy and he said, what the hell? We both played the PTR. Why don't we try it and share some thoughts? Like, what'd you think about the game? And we thought we'd have just an open dialogue, unedited, for you guys to enjoy. So kick it off. What was your experience so far? What'd you think of the PTR, man?
Man, mostly positive, to be honest. I see some mixed reviews. I think probably the biggest review I'm seeing people say is it's a lot more like Diablo 3.
Right.
You know, it's like the obvious point. And then it was like, well, duh, right? I mean,
how much of that did you play? Like, how much D3 did you play?
Well, so that's the thing. I actually played like a decent amount. So here's my story with D3. I played on launch because I was working at Best Buy at the time. And so I was there at Best Buy during the launch and it was like nutty, right?
Best Buy, no shit.
So then everyone's like, Diablo, let's go, baby. So basically me and all of my coworkers were playing Diablo 3. Now, I was not an Omega Blaster or whatever we call it in this day and age back then. I was just normal
Blaster's the new term.
player,
It's coming up everywhere. Blasting,
it's,
right? Yeah.
It's blasting seems to be like the catchphrase, okay?
Yeah.
So I wasn't a blaster, okay? I was just playing the game, dude, like a normal goddamn human being, right?
Yeah.
So I'm just playing the game, and I didn't have really any issues. Like I know there was errors and people were whining about the auction house and stuff. It's like whatever. I never really had any of those major concerns. I just played the game and had a good time.
Yeah.
And then when Reaper of Souls was out, I played a lot of the Reaper of Souls because I would play, you know, spin to win Whirlwind Barbarian, right?
Same.
And I had this really crappy work from home job, which was like taking call center stuff for like billing issues and dispatching and stuff. And it was just a nightmare. But I could play Diablo because it's so brain dead. I could literally hold the spin to win button, just, you know, whirlwind a greater.
Sure.
All day long while taking calls. So I ended up playing a decent amount by the end of my time in D3. Yeah.
Okay, so I played a lot of D3 too. I also played Barb, and I just kept losing to these poison stinger assholes on tremendously difficult game settings, which made no sense. I think it was Inferno or something back then. And then after that, I played even more. Played a lot of Diablo 3, but eventually, I'm like, World of Diablo Craft didn't really sit for me. And while people like the game, that's cool. It just didn't feel like Diablo, you know, like Whimsyshire or Whimsydale. I'm like, I'm out of here. I'm good, thanks. Got into Path of Exile, started that trek, and then didn't like Path of Exile. Played it 3 more times after, like dropping it many times. Said like, okay, now I get it. Now I get why this game's good. And I kind of went that way. It was like the spiritual successor for D2. But talking about D3 into D4, it's like there are a lot of parallels, right? Like, I think, tell me, like, how far did you get? How far did you get in the PTR on your character? And what did you play?
In the PTR, I basically am in Torment 3. I think I'm 4 or 5 pit tiers from being in the final Torment 4 or whatever. I'm playing a companion druid at the moment, the wolf one.
How is that?
You know, the single target's not bad. I mean, you can kill the bosses and stuff.
Do you remember what kind of numbers you're doing? Like, what kind of big numbers are you seeing on your screen?
I think the wolves are doing like 4 million damage or something. I mean, we're not talking like we're not like crazy damage. You know, when you cast them in, they do like decent damage. But like my build is not min-max. I'm not copying anyone's build. I'm just seeing they're just monkey clicking through the thing. Like, let's see what they can do.
That was me too. So I made a Sork. I made Lightning Spear Sork. It's like arguably one of the best builds from Season 5. So of course I'm going to start there because I like to carry people in the community, whatever. But like, where does that go? Where's the legs? To hear your fucking wolves doing 4 million, that's a shit ton of damage because I'm popping off.
Well, I'm not saying like they're just, you know, clawing down for 4 million. You know, calm down here. I mean, when I hit the button, you know, and he's ramping. You know,
you're ramping the blast.
A good 4 million crit or something. But yeah, I mean, you can go bosses with it for sure. But it
looked promising. It's like it should be good because previously it was shit. Like you only played it when it was on use. Like only the on use poison creeper would like pop off, and other than that, ravens were fuck all.
It's still kind of shit, but you know, not. I mean, you know, it's just not shit enough that you can kill the content of the game. I mean, the in-game content's not too hard. But the problem is because pushing the pits is really the, you know, I mean, it was and is the in-game content.
Yeah.
Then it's kind of not good for that because you need clear. You know, you need clear.
I like to have a structure where it's kind of like getting at all the different things, which is true. I love the free flowing conversation. Genuinely, I do. Like you said, the game's not hard. We're gonna talk about that in a second, but you only got to Torment 3, so you never tried Torment 4. I fucking went through Lilith on 4. I went through, like, I'm trying to push the pit 100 right now. Like I'm hitting the ceiling of what the game's got to offer after a day because of the ported over character. So you and I have a very different experience, but I brought in the Ferrari, right? Like I brought in the vehicle that should take the game down, and you're out there on, like, you know, the Volkswagen trying to make it cool again, right? Like,
I'm just gonna play what I want. Like I
love
don't.
that.
You know, I just play whatever I want. It's like my dog shit builds in PoE. You know, I'm just gonna, oh, this move looks cool. Let's see how it works. Oh, it's one of the worst moves. Great.
Yeah, and
Love
like
it.
and like for me, like I'm glad that you do that because I was looking at this new Sork ability, familiars, and then I wanted to make a druid because there's always something sleeping on the druid. Like there's always a build there. You just gotta find it. You gotta put in the work, right? And you're one of the guys that doesn't. It sounds like you don't really give a shit. You're gonna do your own thing, so you might just stumble into greatness because you figured it out, right? Like
I don't think they're bad. I just think like I haven't figured the build out enough to make them good.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, like I heard that there's a new Stormclaw aspect for the Ravens for lightning. Maybe you can scale them for lightning, and that will pop off. I don't know. I haven't tried. I haven't got that aspect yet. So at that point, hopefully that solves the. It's just the AOE clear is really the issue. For me, it's it's mostly single time. The AOE clear kind of sucks, but if I could get that solved, we're ramping. But until we get the AOE clear, it's kind of
okay. So AOE is a problem for the build. That's fine. So let's talk about more like in general. PTR, you're playing it. There's D3 parallels. Like now, when you're leveling a glyph, it's more like the legendary gems from D3, right? Like you can fail on that. So I want to hear what are your thoughts. Like I want to hear your thoughts on the Paragon board and the glyph changes if you have any, and then I'll kind of give you mine.
Okay, well, the glyphs were an absolute nightmare. I hated them. It was the worst part of the game. Made me want to quit every time before the PTR.
Okay,
so
okay.
I'm going from that.
Okay,
so
fair enough.
I literally last season and this season actually, I never leveled my glyphs. Straight up, I'm not gonna step foot in the night. I gave my glyphs, and then I got like the only important one to 15, and I'm done. I don't give a fuck. I'm not gonna level these glyphs. I hated the nightmare dungeons.
So, it wasn't even that bad though. Like, what are you talking about? Like,
no, I'm not gonna do the nightmare dungeon.
Tell me why you hate it. Tell me why you don't like it. What don't you like?
Because you have to go through the dungeon and pick up the box and then run to the door and put it on the thing and then there you gotta hit the prisoners and then slay all when you left the dudes behind. So you're sitting there twiddling your thumbs, waiting for them to teleport on you, so you can kill the dudes, and then you go to the next room and kill the same boss, and you get no loot anyway. You just level these stupid glyphs. So no, I hated the dungeons, like straight up. So I didn't want to level glyphs. It was boring for me. And then the other part is leveling your character super fast in the Inferno, and the Inferno is kind of fun. So you're doing the Inferno hordes, you're like, oh, this is kind of not bad. And then you're level 100, and now you got to go do glyphs. So it's like, okay, do I do glyphs from 90 on in order to get the experience from the 90? It's just an algorithm I didn't want to solve. So for me, I hated glyphs. This is much better because you level them multiple times, guaranteed, basically, if you're pushing through. I got 45 in like an hour, maybe on one of them or something. It's like, okay, it's gonna be significantly better. And then there's a little bit more, I say long-term progression. Of course, I said this, and people in the comments like, there's no long-term progression in the game with seasons. Like, welcome to ARPGs. I'm talking about longer-term progression within the season. So now you have your Paragon going to 300 is a little bit longer, but then also glyphs.
Yep.
At least they're not just 21 and done. You know what I mean? It's over. So.
Sure. Okay. Sure. So that's your take, right? And you said you got one to 45. You like it a lot better. Okay. So I've got Torment 4. I've got my glyphs are 85. Majority of my glyphs are 85. You get a lot more. You get a lot more rewards for going deeper in the pit. So that's your sort of incentive, right? Like you might want to make another character. You might want to level up a glyph that you didn't have before just to see how it does. And before, it's like it takes at least 4 runs with like the Awakening, the Ancestral Awakening buff, and the content you fucking hate to make a glyph actually become 21, so you can feel the power, which you never did anyway. But now it's like, if anybody doesn't understand, you have to run the pit content. Now, if you hated the pits, you may not really enjoy the game. Let's be honest. If you don't like the pits, you got to live in the pit to get that glyph DPS up. Here's what I think. I think that this is my initial after one day of playing, so take it with a grain of salt. You get so much player power out of glyphs now instead of items, and I don't actually like that. It kind of bugs me a lot. Like I'm gonna make a video that proves the point that I can choose any skill, I hope, or I'm gonna eat my words. I can choose any skill, it doesn't matter, because the glyphs give me so much player power that it doesn't matter anymore what skill I choose, other than like play style. And I think your Druid might be the same.
How do you define player power?
It's many ways you can get it. I like the adventure of finding Excalibur in my adventure, right? And I become King Arthur because I found that really cool sword. The sword is awesome. I wield it. I feel good. I don't like the fact that I just get this player power by clicking upgrade on a glyph and I earned it. That just doesn't feel the same. The discovery of power. You know, like if you're playing, as an example, Path of Exile, and you get Ashes of the Stars to drop, you're like, holy shit, my whole build's sick now. I got all this gem quality. Like it really affects everything to wear that necklace. So I want that. I don't have the same vibe when I go into a Paragon glyph endeavor and delve and go, okay, I got my first glyph to 100. Now I can beat all the tier 4 content, world bosses, torment bosses, Echo of Lilith with ease because of a glyph. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's not the same. What are your thoughts?
Okay, I could get that. I would have to see how the Paragon glyphs, when they get to the higher levels, like, I don't know, what's the highest level you got on your glyphs?
85.
Okay, so
like,
you
they're
got
85.
you put up there, and you felt like a massive increase of power at 85.
Tremendous. Like when I got to World Tier 4 and I had like level 21 glyphs, I struggled so hard to kill Andy, Beast in the Ice, like Vanilla Ice, all those guys.
Okay.
I had such a hard time clapping those guys. That's because my glyphs were low, because glyphs can be 100. Now that those glyphs are like up there, it's like, oh, like it's just a whip in your ass. It's like silky smooth, like it's easy as.
So how does that compare? How does that compare to the last season when your item power came from a greater affix hunt?
Because
Did
I
you
was
massively prefer that?
massively prefer it. I mean, you're digging into the tempering system a bit, which is a bit of a lackluster experience overall
fair
too.
enough.
So it wasn't all diamonds, right? So I think I like killing a boss and seeing what the result of that was. Like it's kind of spinning the wheel a bit, right? I think I like that chase more. And then sometimes you'd find that, as an example, double graphics and Shaco or Andy's is like, okay, that will never happen with the glyph. Once you get a glyph to level 46, you unlock its legendary power, which is in most cases 10% multiplicative damage. We haven't even talked about the 5 Paragon board limit, by the way, which is really only 4 plus the starting board. We'll get there. And so that discovery of what could be is interesting. And you never did bosses, right? Because you did tier 3. Oh, dude, we're gonna go over
I did
the
the
show
tier
today.
3 tournaments. I was gonna do the rest of them today because I played through only
Yeah.
up to like 62 or something.
I would challenge you to try your character that's like doing good, and try a world tier 4 boss and see what happens. You're gonna get absolutely love shoved. They're gonna treat you real bad. Like they're gonna steal your bike, your lunch
believe
money, and that's a good feeling. Like people, a lot of the conversation I was having when I was streaming was people are saying like, hey man, it's nice to see Diablo 4 finally difficult. But what we didn't realize is this new world is like, Aladdin, right? Carpet stuff. It's like the new world is your glyphs have to be really high to dominate this stuff. So you gotta have time invested and stuff, right? It's like, okay. And then you could, okay, that's one problem to solve. In the gear progression and stuff, it's like, yep, all your gear is 540, but the new level cap is 800. It's like, and when you fight a tormented boss in World Tier 4, which is the highest now of 8 tiers, it's like the gear's not even 800 anymore. It's 750, unless it rolls ancestral, which the new rules say has
What
to
I
be.
wanted to ask you about
go ahead,
was
go ahead.
like, okay, so if the power is going to the glyphs, and you're feeling the pressure of increasing your progression basically tied around the glyphs, how is the change in rarity of acquiring good items factoring into how you're feeling about your character progression? Does it feel like the glyphs are invalidating the chase of the ancestors and the greater affixes now, or are you feeling that increased rarity still compensating for the fact that you're not getting as many upgrades, so you're still feeling
Yeah, no, it's good.
a power spike?
I think like it's a bit disingenuous because I started the PTR off with Shaco, like Harlequin Crest, with Tyraels, with
Fair
all that
enough.
stuff. So that's not going to be the true adventure, right? But being that that's what it is today, and we're trying the PTR, it's like the mythic uniques and the double greater affix stuff, yada yada. That's just a vehicle to get my glyphs stronger. Without that player power, I can't get there. Like really. Because I just can't beat the boss in time. Like they tried to make it now so that the pit bosses are more close in the HP to the pit content. Like you might clear the entire pit in a minute 30, but it takes you 8 minutes still to beat the boss at the end. It's like that's supposed to be a lot tighter, and it doesn't feel that way right now. So to answer your question, I don't mean to dance around it. I think that the gear is just a vehicle to get you to the glyph power, and the glyph power carries regardless of skill choice at that point. And that's kind of like, hope I'm wrong. Like I hope that I'm wrong, but that's what I think it is. And
So then what I think I'm hearing is that what you don't like is that glyphs are effectively the in-game progression now.
did you like
as opposed to,
Abattoir? Did you like Abattoir of Zir?
No, I
That's
did
what
not.
this is. Why didn't you like it? Be
Yeah, 'cause
honest.
I kind of don't like the
Yeah,
pit
yeah.
system. I mean, that's
don't
really
you like
what
about the
it
pit
boils down
system?
to.
What didn't you like about the pits?
Probably the infinite scaling. I can see where you're going with this, where it's just, you go from one step to the next one to the next.
Yep.
It's the same thing on day 1 as it is in day 1000. Yeah, I can see where you're going.
And so it'd be really cool. Maybe you would like it more. Would you like it more if like the higher the pit that you cleared, the better chance or guaranteed chance at a certain level to get at least greater affix gear plus the ability to level a glyph? I would like that. Like give me something to find. Like I'm an adventurer, man. Like what's the reward? Because here's what the reward can be. And I haven't really experienced this too much yet, but here's the reward. You complete a high level pit with a high level glyph already. Because it's the Diablo 3 parallel system, when you go to level up that glyph again to make it min-max, because that's what you're really grinding for, it fails, and it fails, and it fails, and it fails 4 times, and you're like, wait a sec, I cleared the content, my character's strong enough to do it, but I'm against the odds again. It's like, I would prefer not to do that. I'd like to at least send as much XP as I can into the glyph level to push it again, just so that I'm I'm pushing the ball down the road, I'm achieving the goal, right? Manifest destiny,
So
right?
then-
It's like, I need to make
okay.
that happen, like, yeah.
So then here's the question for you. Did you
Yeah.
prefer the glyph system as it was previous, or do you prefer how it is now? If you had to revert it back, would you?
It's a different time now, so you can't have both. So I have to accept the change, but I knew where the ceiling was before, and I was happy to do the grind. I was happy to play with you or anybody else and bring all of our glyphs to at least 15, and then we go up. But I never forgot about the power of a glyph. And AOZ showed us all what one glyph can do, and that's how people started pushing deeper in the pit. And now you get 5 glyphs, which means you have to choose only 5 glyphs of all the glyphs available to make your character as strong as possible, with all the legendary multiplicative bonuses and crowd control benefits depending on what glyphs you have for class, whatever. That's something you got to choose, right? On 4 boards. So it's like your ability to customize DM's Druid is very limited, and then the glyphs that you're going to choose are pretty obvious. You're going to choose the generic vulnerable damage, crit damage, companion damage. Okay. I guess what I'm saying is, like, the new version, I'm glad to try it, but it feels more limited. And I don't know that I enjoy that, because I said, like, when I'm making notes and stuff, right, for the PTR feedback, it feels like sloppy seconds a little bit. Like, me and you are both going for that glyph. We we want that. But then you have that legendary glyph too. It's a legendary Paragon node. You're like, okay, maybe that's good to go for. Then you have all these rare nodes that I believe, in my opinion, that the glyph power will supersede that value. So it's kind of like sloppy seconds, like leftovers. What I keep saying is like leftovers, because you're gonna have 324 Paragon. Okay, I'm about to finish a pit 100, and I'm level 229 Paragon. What am I gonna do with all that extra 80 like Paragon points? Where's that gonna go?
You're just going to dump them into raw stats. It's basically Paragon from D3 is how I feel about this, which is that, you know, how you had your extra just goes into raw main stat.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of what we're doing
I'm
with it, right?
229, and all the main stats that apply to that glyph are selected.
Yeah. I mean, I'm like 211 or something, and I pretty much had the same thing. Like,
You have the same feeling, same kind of thing, right?
On the 46, when I hit legendary or whatever, it's like, okay, there's no more intelligence for me to hit on my wilds glyph. So it's like, okay, there's now I see into the future of I'm just clicking raw stats. So like I get it. I do think there is some of a mini game that's played around like resistances and armor, where it's like, okay, I can pick to get resistances and armor, because I feel more of a, this is a question I wanted to ask you, is one of the things I liked about PoE, since you brought it up, is the defensive structure, where like defensive layers and having to worry about survivability as opposed to offense.
Yeah, go ahead.
You know, I mean, like, I actually really like that. Now, I understand this isn't something everyone likes.
No,
Because
I
I said this in the video, and people are like, I only want to work on power. I want to be stronger, you know, and it's like, okay, I understand
Let me touch on that for a second. I think just before we go here, so we're going to talk about the defensive layers of PoE, but before we take that ship out to sea, right, and come back with no rewards, because, you know, Settlers of Kalgur joke.
Shipping?
Anyway, yeah, shipping costs, right? So it's like, in Diablo 4, I totally appreciate the fact that not everybody blasts, not everybody plays this game full time, not everybody has 8 hours a day. Those people are gonna, if you play the game at a lighter, I guess I'd say like interaction, couple hours a week, you're probably gonna like this a lot. You can click a guide, follow it along easily, and you're gonna have a good time. Like I think it's for you. That's fine. People that are looking, the 1% that hit the pit 100 or 90 plus, whatever, they're gonna look for some more, and maybe that's what the Dark Citadel is there for. This is my conversation with you after a day of a PTR. So this could be, you know what I mean? So I think that's my view, is it's okay. I'm willing to try it before I bash it too heavily. But let's talk about the defensive layers in PoE. Spell suppression, resistance capping, right? Evasion, if that's the way you want to go and still get one tap because you didn't evade. Like, I love that structure. And I can't tell you, I had friends of mine, they're always like, did you read the patch notes all the time? Because I'd always get clapped by something because my defensive layer was missing something, right? Like, didn't have enough energy shield, didn't have enough life. Like, there's different ways I could balance the character, but I'm checking boxes for defensive stuff in PoE. And I kind of like it. What do you think about that? Like, what do you think about it?
Defenses are a large part of the reason I like the game. To be fair, I started with a Juggernaut, and I played it for like 3 or 4 seasons, and now I'm learning Trickster. Yeah, basically. But for me, the reason I like it is because I believe that instead of just raw dopamine of I have plus higher strength, I can doing more damage, big number, go bigger, then what it actually does is it puts weight to the items dropping, which is what I'm beginning to feel through normal casual progression of, I almost said D3, but D4 here. So basically, as we go through the torments and I get something that's like, oh, it's a greater affix armor, I'm like, ah, shit, that actually kind of like helps a bit. You know what I mean? And then we can supersede, as you're saying, and supplement that power that we're not getting from the items through the glyphs potentially. Maybe is one way it could be solved. Now, I understand that items should feel good, and often getting defensive things on items cannot feel good for people, where it's like, oh, this glove drop, that's a weapon slot, and I'm getting resistance and armor, and I actually need to wear it. But it's the needing to wear it that feels good, in my opinion. It's not the I didn't get what I wanted, it's I got what I needed that feels good for me in ARPGs.
I agree. I had that same moment when I played the game. I used legacy items like you did. We all had 925 gear that got brought in at 540, and I was at 1000 HP, and I'm like, this content's brutal as fuck. Like, what's happening? Why am I getting clapped?
I got 600 HP.
Yeah, my gear, like, to have this gear, like, you'd have to be playing a lot. You have to do the bosses, all that stuff, right? It's like, I should be so stupid. I was like, I expected with that old gear, legacy gear, to be clapping stuff. And for the vast majority of stuff I was, but to your point, I suddenly pick up pants, and it's like, oh, it has, like, 4x more HP. I'm like, oh, my character sucks. That's what it is. My gear has good properties, but the stats aren't there. So you know what happened? Exactly what you said. Now it feels good to look for those upgrades. The armor values to hit cap, which is 1000 armor, by the way, not 9230. It's 1000 armor, just so you hit cap. And then if you go to world tier 4, you gotta have 2000 because it's negative 1000. But regardless, to your point, yeah, that was the chase. But I never felt like, oh, nice, now I got these new pants. Now I can go farm up some glyphs. Like, I never wanted that. It was about my character with the items that represented the journey, the item journey, right? It's like, that I like a lot. And PoE does that very, very well. Like, I can't tell you how miserable. I know I got friends of mine that cannot 6-link and they feel shit, but they love their weapon. It's like, if this thing, they can see if this thing could just, if it could just, right? And that's kind of the same. That's kind of the same with tempering. If this thing could just hit, I would have something. And then it becomes Bricklayer's Guild and another brick in the wall, right? So I'm happy to hear that we can retemper stuff. I'm happy to hear that's changing. What are your thoughts on the temper system?
That's limited to one retemper, though, is my understanding.
Yeah, but it's one retemper plus you get your initial 2, plus you get 1 per masterwork, or excuse me, greater affix, plus the 7, right? So then you scroll it again. So I think the number might be like 22. You can, like, 22 per item is pretty nice until you, like, you'd have to check the numbers. We're gonna find out what happens when it goes to launch, but a lot better than 7, right? It's a lot better than just freaking 7 and
for sure
send it to the bin, right? So
it's just think about how much worse it's gonna feel when you get 22 poison creeper durations in a row instead of like your wolf attack speed or something. That's what keeps happening to me. I got 5 of the same one in a row and I got a new item. It's like, all right.
Yeah, you're so excited for that pile of crap. Yeah, straight to the bin. Exactly right. Now, for everything we're talking about here, like you and I, unfortunately, we haven't played the Dark Citadel, right? We don't know that the end game content isn't in the game right now. We don't know. Have you heard stuff? I've heard like the raid's gonna be like a couple hours long. What have you heard?
No, I mean, I don't have any leaks or anything like that to share. I just have only seen what we've all seen from really the patch notes. I know there's multiple wings.
Yeah, what do you think about a wing having to be 2 hours long for you to get the content done? If that's the case.
Okay, so I'll rant a little bit about this. It's like, I often see this shit where it's like, people are like, I want more in-game content. There's no depth in the game. And they're like, here you go. You have to have 2 hours. Cut it out of your weekend. They're like, oh my God, how am I supposed to do it? It's like, pick a fucking lane. Like, what do you want? Do you want no life sweaty content? Or do you want to blast through the game, which is what we've had and still isn't good enough? So it's like, I'm not saying the game is like 10 out of fucking 10, but it's like, I feel like people want it and then it shows up and they're like, no, I don't want it. It's like, if the Citadel is 2 hours for 1 wing and there's 4 wings.
Or 3 or something,
Or 3 or whatever. Cool. I mean, there's some things to actually do. If I have to plan something out with a buddy to play it, okay, so be it. And I just know when you say that someone in the comments can be like, well, I can't play it solo during my 30-minute lunch break. It's like, okay, you can't.
But you can.
What's the conversation?
You can pick up where you left off. You can use the party finder system to find people doing the same thing, and you can complete it once per week. I know it sounds like we just talked about World of Warcraft, right? You can do your raids once per week. You can team up whenever you want, and you get where you get. It didn't feel bad, and I also don't think video games should drive your lifestyle choices. Like, you shouldn't be like scrambling home, speeding down the road to get to a world boss. That's never okay. It should be conveniently ready when you're ready. That's like nostalgia D2 for me. Like, I come home, I'm gonna slap Mephisto 150 times, and I get a case of the one mores, and now it's 4 o'clock in the morning, and I'm still farming this guy because I just want to play. It's like, that's not Diablo anymore. I don't think that's not the case.
So what will be interesting about that is, okay, so if you can do that,
Right.
and drop. It depends upon the party finder and drop in, drop out your partner. So you're saying you can save your progression. So if you get part of the way through it and you're, let's say, an hour into 2 hours,
That's what they said,
one
yeah.
of you has to go. Okay, so one person has to go. You're like, well, shit, I can't continue anymore by myself. Can you party finder and drop in another person who's like,
Yeah.
oh, I dropped in when this one's halfway over, and are the rewards coming at the end? So if you drop into one that's halfway over using the party find system, are you still like, oh, great, I just skipped an hour, I'll get my rewards. That's fantastic. You know,
Yeah,
like,
I believe
is it
so.
that
Yeah,
type-
I believe
that-
so.
If that's the implementation, then it's not as bad. But if it's
No.
the type of thing where it's like, okay, it's locked, I got to start over because someone couldn't do it or all that, it would be a cluster.
And then right away, like the way my mind works, right away, I believe that's what it is. We could be wrong. We'll wait and see, but because I never played it, right? But if that is the case, and it makes sense that it could be pick up and go, like pick up hockey or whatever, I could totally see that going the way. And I don't want to like promote this too much, but let's talk about it. I could totally imagine people are like, yeah, I'm doing carries. You join my party, I'm at the boss. Come on in, click the stash is done. It's like, well, that just ruins the whole thing. So then you have to have systems in place to prevent that and hope that they exist. Like, is it personal character progression versus last monster killed in, like, however they do that? I want them to champion that and come up with something like genuinely fun, but I want to be able to approach it whenever I'm ready, because you and me, like, we're going to play with community members. We're going to help them in the wings. Your 4 million wolves are going to slap content and grab the boss and like eat his legs or whatever your druid does. And eventually,
Sure,
like,
one can pray.
with your lightning ravens, right? Yeah, you're gonna like full set. Okay, cool. And so people are gonna ask you for help, and you're gonna want to help people, and that's great that this system exists for you to do it. But like you mentioned, there's gonna be people that don't have the time. I only work lunches to play, and they're not gonna be able to access the content unless what I mentioned exists. They could drop in, click all the things, get the cosmetic benefits, and bounce for the week. So it's like you can't. You said like you can't have both lanes, right? You can't be driving in both lanes. Like you can't. So. I think there is a middle ground there. I think that casual, or I'm gonna use the term casual, or non-blasting participants, right? Those guys.
People that actually take showers.
Yeah. If you've seen grass this week, you're killing it. Like, grats to you. It's like the shower enjoyers, like, and that's fine. You should be able to play Diablo 4, and you should be able to achieve a certain level of like depth in the game, end game. What I find all the time.
I agree, but my point is, like, we are so far away from those people not being able to enjoy the game. Like that, this entire time the game has been out is for those players. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
so
yeah,
anytime I
true.
see where it's like, oh, there's a pushback against more in-game content, it's like the game has been
But here's the thing.
for
So-
this play since day one.
But I've asked
Like,
people
it's-
too, right? Like, when you say you want endgame, what does that mean? What does the word mean? Because you're putting a
Yeah.
label on it. What does that actually mean? And like, what does endgame mean for me? I want to be able to. This is my item journey. I've said it before. And curious what your thoughts are. I like the idea of Blizzard implementing item journey, but I want the best item in the game to start with a white base. Path of Exile. Like, you start there. Then I make it magical. Now the ranges are higher than a rare could be. Then I do some event, whatever, and now it becomes rare, okay? The rare ranges are higher than a default rare. And then I apply a legendary aspect that can only be applied if you started with the white item. Okay, now it's legendary. I can choose to make it unique by corrupting it, crangling it, whatever you want to call it, but it'll only ever be like that. And I could trade it if I want to, but that was the journey I chose. Those are the decisions I made to make it that good. Instead of, here you go now. I
You
think
want to be able to see easily definable differences between person to person's items. Like, if I look at your character and look at your items, I can be like, oh, you made a nice chest plate. Oh, that's a great weapon. You want that. And right
Do
now
you like that?
it's of course I like that, but there's a lot of people that absolutely do not. When you say
Right.
that, I think of one person in particular in my chat the other day that was like, I don't want Path of Exile complexity and crafting systems implemented into the game because the stress of having to learn them is significult. And so I
got a counterpoint
like
there,
those systems better, but I don't think people are gonna
Path of
they're not
Exile,
gonna go that way.
Diablo community, if you ever whoever that person is, if you ever talk to anybody in the community and you have a question about that, and they're down to help, man. People in ARPGs like to share their knowledge of ARPGs, so I would support that, and I would recommend that you check out more communities like DM's, mine, whoever else's, anybody in the Diablo space, PoE space. Ask a question, and you're gonna find out people are very, very kind with the info, and they'll give it to you. Like, people want to help. It's true. It's happening all the time. I've been doing it for years, helping people. People love to help, and they're good at it. So instead of having that negative approach, man, just try to say like, hey, okay, now there's crafting. What am I supposed to do? Well, here's what you do. We'll talk about it, and I'll give you the answer. And you're like, oh, sick. And then you have the information. You help somebody else out, and we all get the better for it, right? We all are the better for it. So I don't listen to that noise. That's noise. That's stinky thinking. There's a better way, and we're doing it. So
I agree, but my point being is that, okay, Blizzard is a gigantic company, and
Sure.
as a gigantic company, they have cast a gigantic net.
yes,
And with that gigantic net, they're trying to get a gigantic portion of players to play the game.
okay,
So what they do is they go and they make a game and they grab as many people as they possibly can. In order to do that, it has to be understandable, appealable, and marketed to as many players as possible.
Yeah.
Then as the game goes on, they'll close the net in by slowly pushing the amount of content out, adding the in-game slowly, is to not scare away the fish in the net.
I understand your
and
point.
Then
I
make
get
more
it.
and more. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, so it's I love that implementation of items way better, personally.
Check
but
this
I
out.
understand in order to get there, it's going to be like 3 more years.
Check
like they're
this
going
out.
to slowly add it in.
When you go to farm your World Tier 4, your Torment 4 boss in the PTR for Season 6, Vessel of Hatred, what do you expect that boss to drop? Just right now, because you haven't done it. I've been living it. What do you expect happens when that boss gets killed? What happens? You're alive.
Probably a bunch of dog shit, because the Torment 3 is not a whole lot of anything good, and it's only 30% more.
Be vivid. You're in the hardest difficulty of the game. You kill Duriel, King of
Whether
Maggots.
you said expect or what?
What do you think is going to drop? Like you roll the crystal ball, DM goes, okay, I killed Duriel, blah, 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 all this acid's coming out. What happens? What does he drop? What do you think is going to, what are you going to see?
Okay, well, what I expect is different than what I would hope. So what I expect to happen is I get 3 normal uniques, and that's about it. And then maybe on the occasion I get Greater Affix 1, and if I'm really lucky, I get a Mythic.
Okay, that's okay. You will get like 5 uniques only in some materials. That's all you get now. Instead of the loot pinata. And like all the uniques that are dropping, for me anyway, so far, you know, knock on wood, they've been kind of ass. Nothing Greater Affix really. So
yeah, that's what's happening in Torment 3 too. Because I mean, it's not that big in terms of rewards. It's not like that big of a jump up. If you look, it's just percentage based. Well, so it's what you get like 30% more or something, right?
I tested it, right? Like, so went through Torment 1, killed a boss. I got like a unique or 2. I'm like, okay. Went to Torment 2, got 2 uniques. Went to 3, got 3. Went to 4, got 5. I was like, okay, I get it. Now I understand. Now I understand why my boss material per execution is best spent in the highest difficulty, because I get a little bit more sauce. But the Stygian stones weren't impacting the drop rate at all. So what do you hope would happen? Now that you set expectation, what do you hope would happen?
You go to the Torment 4. You get a good amount of loot. I would like the Ancestral normal legendaries, personally. I think that would make sense. You're fighting like the hardest bosses, supposedly. Then I would like to see some Ancestral Greater Affix legendaries, or at least have a chance at them. The part that caught me off guard is I'm only getting uniques. And I was like, okay, like I'm cool with getting multiple uniques. That's cool.
Yeah.
But like, where the hell's the legendaries? You know what I mean? Like, I need those.
They're in the pit.
Yeah, but I don't like that.
But now you have to live in the pit because you're leveling your glyphs.
I get it. I just, if the conversation is what would I hope for, it's I would hope to have a chance at some ancestral legendaries from the boss as well.
And I think so too. Like, I think we both want to be able to kill a tormented, amazing fight boss, whatever. We do the mechanics correct and we get reward. We did the fight. We beat the guy. And then when we kill him, he drops additional gear that we might want to upgrade to, right? Instead of like, flicker step. Broken down. Okay, let's go again, boys. Flicker step.
They're trying to,
like,
which right. I think the way they're doing it now currently is going to make some bosses basically non-viable for depending upon your class. Like if there's nothing that you need in one boss, you're just never going to do that one, whatever class you're on, right? Whereas opposed to before, you could kind of do what you want. Right?
I would disagree because the bosses can always drop a mythic, so you're always incentivized to fight it for that reason. Like you could get
but the mythics you can transfer before characters, so you would just wait to do that one for the class you actually need that unique on. So like if you're playing sorcerer and let's just say for whatever reason Varshan, I don't know, I don't play Sorc. Let's say Varshan doesn't have anything you need in it. You're just never going to do Varshan until you make your next character, and then you'll do Varshan on that character in order to get the uniques, right? Unless they change it, you can get uniques for other classes that aren't your.
I think the smart loot's still there. Yeah.
Yeah, so then you would just wait and do them on that one, which I guess maybe is okay or not. I don't know. But I don't like the feeling of you're forcing me to the pit to get the ancestral legendaries. That part, it feels to me like they don't like the focus of the bosses. Like that's the vibe I'm getting.
But like
also, they don't like that being the end game.
It's day 1 of PTR. We don't know what the Dark Citadel gives yet. We don't really know what the Undercity is going to be. We haven't tried Rune Words yet. Like where does that all play in? What do Infernal Hordes do? They're disabled. You go in there right now, your character's soft locked. Like, see you back at the lobby, kid. Like, it sucks, right? So I don't know what the entire scope is. We don't really know other than like the theme, something of hatred, season of hatred. We don't know what that's going to be yet. So I assume there's going to be a bounty board to get ancestrals like you're talking about or uniques. Like, did you like the season 5, by the way? We haven't talked about this. Did you like the season 5 bounty board rewards? Did you like that?
Bounty board rewards? Are you talking about Mother's Lilith? basically the reputation
talking to
system.
Estelle and getting all that. What'd you think of that? Did you like that?
Yeah, I like those systems. I think they're fun because they're like extra rewards. Like I don't think about them for a while. I go back and like, oh, I got a chest, cool, and you click and you open it up and you get some goodies.
Okay, just
and
curious,
mostly for the boss materials. Like I very casual, enjoyable. Like I don't feel a pressure around them. It just feels like extras that I just happen to get basically.
Yeah, I'm happy to hear that. Me too. I liked the fact that I could kill any elite anywhere I wanted now instead of just hell tides, and I get the reward of that. Like because I'm helping clear out sanctuary. Yeah, felt good. Good, cool shit. So. That's all I had, man. That's all I had for this. I just want to get your opinions on it and stuff. And I'm sorry to hear your druid's not crushing it as hard, but Sork is in a good place.
My druids ever crushed it that hard, bro. Let's be honest. I'm too lazy to farm all this.
Didn't you hit for trillions?
Yeah, with a bug. Like
what's not bugged?
Other
I was kidding, right? Yeah.
Yeah, no, the whole game's a bug, I suppose sometimes.
And so you're going back in. You're going back into World Tier 4 and stuff with this new information, yeah?
Oh, I gotta finish it. I gotta see what Torment 4 is like, and I'm probably gonna try a different build with the Druid.
I will tell you, man. Like, actually try this. Like, go in there and try a boss with low glyphs, and then just try it again with a couple glyphs of at least like 70, and watch how much faster. Watch how much faster that melts, and then you'll see where the power is. And then maybe you'll like maybe follow up or whatever, but you'll see exactly what it is, or maybe we'll team up.
We'll see how much that translates to companions. Hopefully, those glyphs translate pretty hard.
I actually think, like, just really quick, I think that the sleeper class could be Necro, because the Necro minions, and maybe yours too, I'm not so sure, but I'm pretty sure the Necro minions get all of the player power the player has, right? So if your glyphs are empowering you huge, doesn't that mean that all your other guys are going to be huge too? Like, I bet you Necros are going to slap.
Well, I mean, raw stats too, but like attack speed and everything. But the glyphs I'm thinking of increase companion damage, basically just raw percentage. So as I grab them, I'm just getting raw companion damage.
Raw damage, basically. Yeah, just going for it.
Raw damage.
Are you before we go into the expansion thing? Are you like down for Spiritborn? Do you know what kind you're gonna make after you played and stuff?
Centipede for sure. Centipede is, which is kind of what I want to talk about too with you if we do another one. Is I want to talk a bit about the expansion, your experience with it. But for me, Centipede is that's gonna be the one I'm gonna play because the first time dots feel good.
But we played it as BS. Like the dots we had was ridiculous. Like that wasn't what we're gonna have, right?
It might be what I think it might be what we have if I had to guess.
I mean, they're pretty... when we played at Blizzard HQ, the centipede we played was not. It was way overtuned. Like it's not gonna be that strong.
Are we sure though? Like, because back then we were basically playing the rework that we are now, right?
No, we were playing a build that was 5 weeks behind with a bug in it. That's what we had. It's fine. Play your class. I'm not trying to diminish your enjoyment of the thing, but it's like.
So you think they're gonna nerf into the ground? Is what you're saying?
I'm saying it's gonna be like, yeah, like half of what we played, half of that damage. The cool thing about Centipede is the fact that his poison can crit. That's hot shit. That's the only thing that is awesome. Poison dots critting, like Witch Doctor vibes 2.0. Love that a lot. And I totally support anybody that wants to play it. And you play what you want. Like it's just one guy talking here, but I'm down for Jaguar all day. Single target and cleave.
On hit will be pretty crazy.
Yeah, I think so. But Centipede, eh? Pure Centipede, you going Centipede Gorilla? What are you gonna do?
Probably Centipede Jaguar, I think, or maybe Gorilla, because I know Gorilla's kind of like the meme you're supposed to do with it, right?
And since we played, we recently found out that your ultimate skills can get additional ranks too. So that changes everything, right? Like, would you not have just pumped points in your Centipede guy?
The Centipede guy is super cool. Plus, you have to realize, like, I don't really play things based upon what I think's good. It's about what I think's cool.
Yeah, but so it's like cool when your Centipede comes out and blows away the room.
Yeah,
like,
exactly. Like he shoots a fucking laser beam, my dude. Like it's badass.
Dude, I gotta be honest. Like you and I share that actually. I know it doesn't maybe come across as well, but like I played a Sork originally in D4 because everybody said it was ass. It's like I'm gonna play it to prove it's not ass. Like I'm gonna make a build that works, and it wasn't the barb, but it was still very good. It's like, so I'm the same. I don't have to play meta. I like playing what looks cool. That's why I always play Conjurations, man. It's like I kind of like them, even though they're not Lightning Spear. I kind of think they're cool. And you're doing
like my least favorite build in all of Diablo 2. What do you think it is?
Of Diablo 2?
My least favorite build.
If you don't like the Blessed Hammer Paladin, I don't know what to tell you. Like it's sick.
That's what it is. It's dog shit. I hate the hammer. It's the most clunky thing I've ever experienced in my life. And trying to do Maggot Lair with that made me want to uninstall the game.
Well, that's your problem. Like, you shouldn't be in the Maggot Lair anyway. Like, that's
you gotta do the Maggot Lair. I mean,
no, I get that you could be confused, and it's fine because the Paladin slaps. But like, what's your
he says?
Just it's fine. You can be. I'm just messing around. But like, what's your favorite class? What did you like the most in D2?
Dude, I liked basically what Holy Fire, what Righteous Fire became. Like, you know,
Tesla
from PoE.
Tesla.
Yeah. Yeah, well, you're zapping everybody with the fire. Like that shit was fun, dude. You're walking forward, just
It is good,
murdering
yeah.
people with the
When
fire.
you're charging and
Zeo's
stuff.
pretty good.
Yeah. So did you ever play on Players 8 stuff, or did you always play P1?
I did player 8 for like the whatever the final difficulty cows is.
Hell cows.
To see what that's like. Yeah, like the Giga cows or whatever. 'cause
Yeah,
people tell me
Giga
you gotta
cows.
try that. So
Yeah,
I tried
yeah.
that.
We might as well talk about that too, like cow level stuff. If the game of D4 allows Whimsy Shire, what do you think about that?
Just don't make it like D3, bro. I'm of the same opinion of you that that I didn't play D2 before D3. You have to understand. So when
I
I went
watched
to
you
D3,
play
it
the
didn't
games.
piss
Yeah,
me
yeah.
off. Yeah, you watched me play. So then
Yeah.
when I played D3 originally, my instinct was like, oh, there's kind of a lot of like fairy shit in this game. I mean, it was a little off, but like it
Yeah.
didn't actively piss me off.
Yeah.
And then if
Yeah.
they in Diablo 4, since it's like kind of grotesque, which was the good move, Return of the Darkness is the giant meme they say. If they start adding like rainbows and unicorns and shit in the game, I'm gonna be kind of like, come on, dude.
Yeah, like I don't mind that you
Let's
can
not.
Yeah, so like I don't really, to be honest, man, like I don't know how you guys feel about it, but I really don't like the cross branding stuff. Like I don't need to see the Butcher or Lilith in my Call of Duty game. Like I get that your
Oh,
company
amen.
does it.
I don't need Lilith with an AK-47, bro.
Like it just kills the immersion, you know what I mean? Like, and I guess I'm like that's why I'm 40, man. Like maybe I just gotta like freshen up a bit, but leave it dark. Give me light radius. Have some mystery around the corner. Make the game feel like gory, bloody. Like watching Lilith. Remember that cinematic where she's coming through that plane of like blood and guts and stuff? I'm like, that Diablo is hot. Like I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about it. I want that. And the second that I see a unicorn shitting rainbows, I'm like, what happened? Like, what happened? Like, why do I have butterfly wings just because somebody asked for it? Like, we got it. I hope that they don't. I want to see the cow level. I want to go into a cow level, man, and I want to get cut in half by a cow. Like, I want him to kick my ass. Like, I want it to be so brutal and so dense in monsters that that's where you go for XP. Like, when someone asks you, like, hey, DM, where do I go to level? What do you tell them?
For no hordes.
Why?
Because that's where there's a fuckload of mobs.
Right. I want, like, double that, all cows, and a king who's like the cows move because the king's out and he's huge, like triple the size of a cow, right? He will milk the team with cookies. Like he's nuts. And I don't know what he's gonna drop. Hopefully it's unique items for just him. But we've already seen data mining stuff, man. Like that would be kind of, I'm throwing some jokes here, but that's kind of cool. Like to get Whimsy Shire from that would be like such a dagger.
I don't think there's any. I actually don't think there's any fear of them starting to do that stuff.
Doesn't
like none
exist,
of the
right?
cosmetics have remotely been anything other than like fitting the vibe of what it is. None of the areas have any of that shit in it. None of the new tile sets that we've seen have any of that, because they have the new tile sets in the pit, right? You can see Maggot Lair and all that in the pit. That I don't know if it's a leak or what, but they have them in there, so you can see that. And none of those are anything other than keeping the dark vibe. None of the areas we saw when we tested out Spiritborn were anything but a dark vibe. None of the stronghold. I would be shocked and appalled if suddenly we start seeing like unicorns and everyone has fairy wings and shit like that.
Yeah. I guess same. You're not seeing it at all, which is good for the game. Just keep it dark, keep it not pay to win, and let's go. Let's see what happens. And I'm really excited for the Vestal Hatred stuff because, like I said briefly, you and I got a chance to play it at Blizzard, which is awesome. Pleasure meeting you again, by the way, of course. And it was like, in addition to all that, it's like I think that the game is going to be sick. I actually think so. Mercenaries, customizable like reinforced attack options, sick. Playing solo, 1.5 mercs, sick. Raids, sick. Like new uniques, cool. New area, yeah. Like everything's Mephisto. I hope. Like you got to give us a primeval, man. But put all that together, in addition to what we're doing in the PTR with rune words, we got a game now. We got some density here. Like let's play. And the fact that it's easy for me and you to team up now and do stuff, sign me up. Like sign me up. You know the stat, right? 85% of all people playing Diablo 4 play solo. That's because the game was built that way. You couldn't connect if you wanted to. It's a difficult thing to do. When that goes away, what do you like? Where you put the number? I'm thinking like 65 instead of 85% solo. I really think more people are going to connect.
I think it's going to be bad data because you're going to have to play together in order to do the Citadel. So I don't know if we're actually going to see numbers related to people choosing to, coincide with the option as much as Blizzard is guiding you through that product, like forcing you to effectively, if you want to get the cosmetics and everything. So I guess the pre-Citadel numbers would be interesting for me to see. in terms of party finder. I do think that part of the reason we see it to be so solo is I think this game's pretty massive on console. And console user interfaces are notoriously dog shit. So I don't think people really enjoy the process of trying to figure out how to invite and accept and everything. Like, you're just not going to do it. Fuck it, I'm just going to go kill the dude myself. Like, you're not going to go through that process of like trying to find the people, etc. Maybe you would if the party finder was a lot easier on console, you know, for the UI. But in its current iteration, I wouldn't want to do it on controller either.
Well, I guess time will tell, right? Time will tell. But
time will tell, my friend.
After day one, it's a whole different game, whole different beast, and I'm looking forward to it. I think the expansion is going to pop, and I hope it's going to surprise a lot of people, myself included. And I hope to Christ there's no Whimsyshire or whatever the fuck. But
I think you're pretty safe.
Did you have anything you wanted to look? Did we cover everything you want to talk about?
We covered a pretty significant amount of everything, from the expansion to D2 to PoE to the PTR. It's only day one, like you said, so I think we about wrapped it.
Me too. Thanks for having me. Appreciate the conversation, and I'll see you guys in Sanctuary, right?
Cheers.
Peace out.